let me show you how this is supposed to work. All right, we're talking relative velocity. Okay, so here's what we're saying. Notice velocity of the train to the ground. Here's a ground observer sees the velocity of the train to the ground as positive 9 meters per second. So the train's going this way at 9 meters per second. The velocity of this passenger to the train is positive 2 meters per second. So you add those two. So the velocity of the passenger to the ground observer, what this ground observer sees how fast that passenger is moving, is you add those two vectors together, and you wound up now notice the velocity of the passenger to the train, pt, plus the velocity of the train to the ground. So notice when we're trying to get p and g together here, it's the first subscript goes here, so velocity of pt plus velocity of the train to the ground. The second subscript goes with the second one, and we get 11 meters per second. Pretty straightforward if it's in a straight line. Okay. Now, here's the question though. What happens if the passenger starts walking in the other way at 2 meters per second? How fast is he going to the ground-based observer? All right. Let's see what that says. And that's kind of an interesting phenomenon. If you've ever seen like trash being thrown out of the back of a truck or something like that by accident on the highway, that if you're not moving that fast, that piece of trash is moving to the right if that truck is moving to the right. So it's kind of a weird phenomenon. So what am I talking about? Here you go. So let's say you've got this piece of, you're a ground observer and you got a truck moving along. Okay. You got a truck moving along at 20 meters per second. All right. And a piece of trash gets picked up and a piece of trash gets tossed out at 5 meters per second in this direction. Okay. So here's the piece of trash in this direction to a ground observer. So this is the velocity of the trash to the truck. So I don't want to do TT. Let's call this a garbage. No, because that would give me ground. Let's call this the car. Okay. So the back seat of the station wagon or something like that. So the velocity of the trash to the car is equal to negative 5 meters per second. Okay. And the velocity of the car to the ground is positive 20 meters per second. All right. So the velocity, gosh dang it, sorry, I forgot to turn off my Outlook. So the velocity of the car, so the velocity of the trash to the ground is minus 5 meters per second plus so this is trash to ground. So trash to car is that, and then the velocity of the car to the ground. So I've got VT, which is the first thing I want, plus velocity of CG, subscript, I had to make sure, is positive 15 meters per second. So you still see this trash. If you're on the ground, you still see the trash taken off that way. All right. We'll end that lesson. Now let's talk about if it's going in two different. If it's going, one's going in the X direction, one's going in the Y direction.